Hi everyone, welcome to Conversations with Angie. My name is Angie Mkwanazi and I am so excited that I am finally back. Okay, I pretty much owe you this much. Quick life updates. Okay, so I haven't been posting simply because one, it's been lockdown, and obviously during lockdown we have to maintain social distancing, so I was unable to interview people. Number two, there was a lot of moving and a lot of uncertainty. So I did not want to start filming and then realize that I actually don't have like a particular place to film. So I think that's all sorted out now. And there's also been online school. I just started online school and it is honestly killing me. Like it is killing me, like murdering me, like one limb at a time. But at the end of the day, we conquer and we move. I don't know how many we moves we're gonna say this year, but let's just keep moving. At the end of the day, we're going to arrive at the destination. We have no other choice.
Conversations with Angie is a journey to purpose through healing, laughing, loving, and learning. I believe that we are most powerful and purposeful when we're true to our soul's true desires. Let me in, let's talk.
Okay, guys, so we're all maintaining social distance, therefore, I will not be interviewing people for quite some time. However, what I have decided to do is that I have decided to have a conversation. With who? With you guys. How? Like this. Okay. So this is how we're gonna do it. I'm basically just going to cover topics each week, and you guys can comment, message me, DM me, and we'll just engage. I can do a follow-up. You guys just let me know. So basically, the reason why I'm doing this is because these are topics that we do talk about. However, I don't think we talk about them enough. I'm doing this simply because I just want everyone to be the best version of themselves. I think when you're the best version of yourself, that's when you feel good, you do good, you dream bigger, you want more. So that's basically why I'm doing this. I just want all my subscribers, or actually everyone. I just want everyone to be the best version of themselves, and I think we can certainly achieve that one person at a time. As you can see in the title, today we're going to be talking about childhood trauma. Before we begin, please can I clarify? Not everybody does certain things for the same reason. There's a variety of reasons as to why people can do things. I'm just like explaining to you guys some of the reasons why people do certain things, and I'm explaining what childhood trauma is about and how it affects our lives, and basically what it is in its wholeness. So childhood trauma is basically the idea that what happens to us in childhood affects our relationships in the future. When I say relationships, I don't just mean romantic relationships. I mean work relationships. I mean friendships, family, future in-laws. Every single relationship that you build as an adult is affected in one way or another by what happened to you in childhood. A lot of things happen in childhood. Great things, good things, bad things, terrible things, traumatic things, and all of these things affect us in one way or another, and they have an effect on how the type of adults that we become. So the other day, as I was doing my research, I watched a video that was explaining childhood trauma, and I'll try to link it in the description. And the narrator basically said that children see their parents or their guardians as perfect. They would rather think of themselves as crazy and weird and unworthy than to think of their parents or their guardians in that way. Children almost idolize their parents or their guardians. I think that's pretty normal because that's the only form of care, love, comfort that they know. That's what their guardians or their parents give to them is all they really know. So that definitely makes sense. However, I was really shocked because then everything started adding up together as to how the childhood trauma really begins and why we're affected so much by things that happen in our childhood. So, because as children, we see and idolize our parents or guardians, whatever they do seems like the normal to us. The very first thing that I want to look at is what many people refer to as the savior complex. So the savior complex, I researched a lot on it and I read on it as well. And what I've come to understand is that it basically means that if you were brought up by parents or a guardian that were dismissive, that were a bit emotionally unavailable because of what they were personally dealing with, whether it was, mental health issues, whether it was alcohol, substance use, just anything that makes someone like emotionally unavailable. And every time you said something or did something and it made them laugh or it made them happy, or it felt or it looked like it changed their mood, that looks to you like, oh wow, I can actually change people, I can make people happier, I can, which comes from a good place. I think it really, the innocence of a child is actually so beautiful because it really comes from a good place. However, that's not the case when you're an adult. You're incapable of changing people. You can help people, but also you can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped. So I think that whole idea of a savior complex is when people, as well, adults believe that they can change people. Adults are drawn to partners who are emotionally unavailable, partners who are dismissive, and they always feel the need to try and get their attention, do things to bring their partner's attention back to them, to make their partner happy, to make their partner smile. And because that was the normal growing up, it seems like the normal as an adult. And it's one of the things that we have to kind of unlearn, that we cannot make people happy. We're incapable of making people happy. We can make people better, make them feel better, maybe for that moment, make people, help people if they want to be helped. However, we're incapable of changing people. And the next thing that I want to touch on is abusive relationships. However, before I continue, I want you guys to understand that I am in no way justifying anything. All I'm doing is explaining how it is linked to childhood trauma. So how it's linked to childhood trauma is people who grew up in homes where there was abuse, they, as children, saw it as normal. And one of two things can be the result. They can end up being the victim or the perpetrator. The reason they become the perpetrator is because they felt that it was the norm, and they felt that it was the way to making things right and to building a good home. Because after the abuse, perpetrators usually say that it's because they love you, because they want the relationship to go well, because they always blame the victim, and in their head it's their way of making everything better. And so that's one of the reasons why some people who grow up in abusive homes become perpetrators. Why people become victims is because they are drawn to people who exhibit those signs, because that's what they grew up knowing as normal. That's what they grew up as knowing, that that's how you see the person you love. They're drawn to people who exhibit those signs. That's why people always say the signs were always there from the beginning. However, some people don't really see them because they're drawn to those signs, and that's how they become the victim. Also, sometimes it does happen that people are in abusive relationships and they attempt to fix that which went wrong in childhood in that adult relationship. So what I'm saying is that they're in those abusive relationships and they have this belief that they could possibly end the abuse, because that's all they wanted as children. They wanted it to end. It was painful, and so they tried to end it in the adult relationship. So they're healing a wound from childhood through an adult relationship. That's basically what it is. And I think one thing I've come to realize is that not everything is black and white when it comes to human beings. As human beings, we're very complex. I wouldn't say we're complicated, I'd just say we're very complex. And just sitting down and speaking to, a victim or a perpetrator can make you realize that there's just so much that needs to be dealt with in our society. It's very difficult. It's a very difficult thing to do. However, I think it's something that should be done. And I honestly believe that one day we will live in an abuse-free world. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is something that most of us call self-sabotage. Is it really self-sabotage? I found something very interesting that was speaking about when you're in a relationship with someone who treats you well, who treats you great, but you're just not used to that. And you constantly say to yourself, oh no, they're probably going to do this. Oh no, they're probably going to hurt me. Oh no, they're probably lying. Oh no, they probably don't mean it. That is called, that we call that self-sabotage. However, it's actually called project identification. No, projective identification. It's called projective identification. It's basically when you project what what you think the outcome of a relationship will be with someone when they're not even exhibiting those signs. So basically, someone will treat you well, they'll get you flowers, do all the right things, but you'll just feel like this is too good to be true, and there's no way this person's probably lying. This probably doesn't mean it. This person probably actually hates me deep down. They really hate me, and really, they're probably just like married and living with someone else, and I'm basically just, you know. And sometimes, actually, what ends up happening in those types of situations is that the person actually starts becoming a liar and starts becoming a cheater. And in the end, you're going to be like, yeah, I knew it. However, that's actually not the case. It's actually called projective identification, when you constantly project those things on someone else's identity, and they actually become that towards you. It is actually so crazy. And that comes from not knowing this type of good treatment. It comes from not being used to this type of good treatment, that you feel that when it actually comes your way, it's too good to be true. Okay, guys, so there's something that I want to touch on. However, I haven't done extensive research on it, and I'm not too sure how accurate it is. So basically, there's been a lot of times, where myself included, where I've heard people say, they have a tendency to bottle up emotions. They can't really talk about how they feel. Um, or something along the lines of just keeping emotions to themselves. They don't even speak up when something really, really, really hurts them. And I've been thinking and trying to figure out what the possible reason for that could be. And if you link it to childhood trauma, I've noticed that most of the times when a child does something, or does something wrong, or something that everyone else sees as wrong, the child gets shouted at. However, the child never says anything, never tries to explain why they did what they did. I know that at a certain age, you're actually incapable of speaking, so you can't really do that. However, I think as you get to 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, and you're able to communicate, I think it's extremely beneficial for you know, when you get shouted at, for the child to actually explain what they did and why they did what they did. I think because children never get a chance to respond, they then grow up to be adults who just, if if they're upset or something, they just know that they're not going to say anything. And it's not that they don't want to say anything, it's because they've never felt that they could say something. I don't know if I'm making sense, basically. So I think that the reason why most people bottle up emotions is because they just grew up never having the platform to be open and talk about how they feel about a certain situation. It was always one-sided, and I think that's really why people bottle up emotions sometimes. So all these things that I've just spoken about, they're not there forever. Definitely not. Sometimes we repeat a pattern not because we want to, but we want to fix it. So we'll constantly be in relationships with the same types of people in different bodies because we want to heal a wound inside ourselves. And I think I've come to realize that there's no way that we can do something like that. I think if we want to really heal a wound, we have to do it on our own. We have to face that which is hurting us and just deal with it on our own. Another thing is that if you deal with it, if you deal with childhood trauma, it's no longer going to be part of part of the things that you deal with in life. If you just take the time to deal with it, it is possible that you can break that pattern completely. Another thing that I just like to add before I say my goodbyes is that I know in my heart that when a parent has a child, they only want the best for their child, and they love their child wholeheartedly. As human beings, we're not perfect, and we're always going to make mistakes. It's just who we are as human beings. I am in no way saying that people who have children are unfit or anything like that. I was merely just talking about childhood trauma and what it is, so that you can maybe better understand why you're constantly drawn to the same people but in different bodies, just so you can figure out what it is maybe that was traumatic to you as a child, and then you can hopefully deal with it and come out better from it. And just, yeah, I just hope that this has been extremely beneficial to each and every one of you guys, and I really hope that you guys will take the time, if you've identified with anything, take the time to really, really, really think about it and just understand it and heal from it, and most importantly become better from it. Thank you so much for watching, and I cannot wait to post the next video. Yeah, goodbye guys, thank you.